Hi, it's Chuck, and welcome to another episode of 2MMRC. Today I'm going to talk about the Tamiya TL01. This one here, it's a B22 Subaru Impreza from mid to late 90s. It's got the Colin McRae livery on it as well. It's a body that I didn't actually paint myself, but it was good enough for me to want to keep it. Typically, if I buy a used car, I'm just going to throw the body away because it's typically not up to my standard or not up to what I was looking for in the body itself. This one actually was a very good representation of the Colin McRae Subaru Impreza, so I kept it. Got the wheels and everything. And it fit perfectly on the TL01 chassis, which I think is what it was released with as well. So let's take a look under the hood and see what we got. Not a whole lot. It's completely bone stock. It doesn't even have ball bearings. It's got the JIS screws, silver can motor with a cheesy NiCad battery with the Tamiya plugs, AM remote, and radio. Everything still works. I just don't like to use it. Even has the friction shocks on there, which are awesome. You know, paired with the dog bones and the lightly greased gear diffs. This thing is a beast. Literally. Sorry, Sarge. But yeah, out of the box, this wasn't a very capable car, but it was a very fun car, and it was a way for Tamiya to introduce people into the hobby at a very, very low price point. I think when these came out, they were like $90. Now, you could actually go onto a site and buy the actual specific spare parts, which is the tub, the arms, the knuckles, and the dog bones, and essentially build this car for not a whole lot more than what it cost 25 years ago. It's a very deceivingly sleek looking chassis because it's basically they called it a ladder, but it's a tub. And encased in that tub are both differentials, and there's a drive shaft, propeller shaft, neatly tucked in right above the battery. Kind of cool. Yeah, the arms are short and stubby, so this was a very durable car. And if something did break, it was easy to change and replace. Didn't break a lot of things on this car because you typically wouldn't go fast enough to break anything on the car. With a stock gear ratio on that silver can, you're at like 7.0. Typically now, today, you'd want to be at a gear ratio of between 4 and 4.3 to start. But yeah, back in the day, that's what it was with brushed motors. So yeah, not a whole lot going on with the chassis, but it's still available in pieces, and it's actually the blueprint for other chassis as well, like the TL01B, which was the buggy version of this chassis, and the WR01 and the Wild Dagger version of the WR01. So yeah, there's a lot of history and lineage with this type of chassis, but this chassis itself doesn't have a lot going on for it. So enter my tuned version. The tuned version here is a much more capable car than this guy here. So I'm just going to put this guy up there, and we're going to look at the tuned version that I did. I actually raced this at clubs in a 21.5 scale spec. As a 21.5 scale spec racer, it was competitive because it had the Skyline gears. With the Skyline gears, I can get closer to an acceptable gear ratio. Still a little bit off, but it's very, very close enough, especially if you crank the timing and play with it. It's got a reedy, I think, S Plus motor in there, paired up to a TS50 Sky RC speed control. The LiPo is a round pack because this had to accept round packs. Universals all around. These are TA04 universals which fit in, and the other nice, well, there's a couple more things I did. CVA shocks. CVA shocks are important because those friction shocks just didn't go very far. Sway bars included as well, front and rear. I've attached those. Now to attach those sway bars, you would essentially have to upgrade the suspension. And you'll see here that my suspension is not stock. That is, I think they're TBO3 arms. Yeah, TBO3 or TBO4 arms. You can also buy it as the TL01 long arm suspension kit for the front and for the back. And they use E-clip hinge pins instead of the gigantic threaded screws. So that suspension kit gave it the ability to have a much more, a better stance, because those short stubby arms on the original, let me just show you if I can. The short stubby arms on the original were severely lacking in capability. Oh, I'll just move that back there. They were heavy. The geometry was really weird, and they just didn't provide a lot of, they just didn't provide a lot. And then you enter this guy, which gives you a modern touring car suspension, which just gives you a lot more to play with here. Not only do you have a different geometry with the 1, 2, 3 hole settings, which are not available on the original. So again, 1, let's see if I can show it here. 1, 2, which it's on, and then 3, which is the farthest setting there. You don't get those settings with the original chassis. Another thing that I did was, I painted a lot. So I used a Tamiya PS1 spray paint to paint the stock soft springs on that CVA shock on all four. Matched the white battery, and then I also painted the propeller shaft down the middle to go with that whole white motif. White wires as well. That makes the car go faster. Low profile servo. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to use the standard JR servo that's in here. So these Alibaba servos were superior. Threw them in, and they're cheap as well. Tucked in the receiver right down below there. So it's like a double deck design. One deck is for the speed control. The bottom deck is for whatever else you want to put down there. I decided to put the receiver. Servo saver underneath. I think it's a Kimbrough. See if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. That's a Kimbrough servo saver down there. And the long arm suspension kit came with knuckles as well. So those are not stock TL01 knuckles. Those are also from the, I think, TBO3 or TBO4 or TBO5. Anyways, yeah. Better than stock. You'll also notice on the stock car here, it's all JIS screws. So there, and also the hinge pins. Hinge pins are also JIS screwed. The updated car has no GIS screws. M3 2mm heads, 10mm long on the shocks. I am using the Element shoulder screws, very popular screw that I've used on many of my Tamiya builds. Kingpins have been replaced with TA04 kingpins as well. And as I mentioned in it already, the hinge pins are actual E-clip hinge pins, so we don't have to worry about the gigantic screws, and that helps with weight savings and reduces a lot of the slop as well. So, yeah. As a racer, as I mentioned, it's a decent performer. Not the best, but much better than stock. As a rally basher, this thing is awesome. As a rally basher, it can essentially go anywhere you want it to go, and it's got the ride height to take it where you want to take it. So here is a big pen, and I can basically flick that right underneath. The stock chassis, can't really do that. So again, the differences between the two are apparent because, yeah, well, the differences between the two are apparent. There's no because, no ifs, no ands, no buts. Putting the CVAs on, changing to the long arm suspension, using universals, changing out all the screws, changing out all the electronics made this a much more capable vehicle that can be used today, and it's competitive and comparable in performance to a TT01 or a TT02, probably even my TA02 rally car as well. So I would put that head-to-head with those type of vehicles in a rally bashing scenario. This one, not this one, because this one kind of sucks. So we're just going to slide that away, focus on this guy. Yeah. And like I said before, this is a car I kind of fell in love with back in the late 90s because it made Tamiya affordable. Not that it wasn't affordable beforehand, but when you compare it at the time, a TA03 kit was about $300, and then this guy was $90. It became very enticing, and man, I wish I bought more of these and just sat on them because they're going on eBay for a nice price. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say about this. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll probably do another video on it, is figures. Figures meaning a lot of people want to have that scale look with their cars right now. You can't really get that with something like a G.I. Joe or even a Bandai figure, Mobile Suit in Action. But you seem to be able to do that with Jada figures, which are a new, relatively new thing. You know, and are cheaper than the $55 John Cena figures that you would typically have that are appropriate in scale. Anyways, I might do another video on that, but this one I wanted to talk about the TL01, some of its history, some of the finer points, and the modifications I did to mine that make it different from a stock one. Oh yeah, it's 24 ball bearings. And they're all the same ball bearing. They're all 511s. So that makes it easy, but it's also annoying to know that you have that many ball bearings running through your drivetrain. So front diff, rear diff, connected through that propeller shaft. Everything is 24 bearings. It's a lot. Anyways, that's all I wanted to cover today. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful day.